Republic of India to Turkey, His Excellency Sanjay Panda, Ambassador of the People's Republic of Bangladesh to Turkey, His Excellency Masood Manan, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to Turkey, His Excellency Lalu Muhammad Iqbal, will address the question, "Where is Asia headed?" with the moderation of Professor Ragıp Kutay Karaca from Istanbul Aydın University. I hope you all enjoy this discussion. Dear sirs, I will leave the floor to you.
You have to unmute yourself, Professor.
I became old ambassador because I forgot to open the voice. Sorry about that. Everybody is welcome. But firstly, I mentioned that when a participant is speaking, the others please shut the voices. This is so important. Thanks everyone joining us for a very, very important event hosted by Bahçeşehir University School of Government and Leadership. It is very important to me to be a part of this forum. Firstly, I would like to thank my dear friend Burak Küntay, the head of the Bahçeşehir University School of Government and Leadership for this invitation. Let's start the first session of the forum. It is a very timely event if you have thought the difficulties of conducting international system since the end of Cold War. In the context of being the first session, I would like to make an introduction to the New World Order. The New World Order is a concept that emerged after the Cold War. It should be underlined that there is no consensus on this concept. For many, the New World Order would be based on cooperation and solidarity. Nationally, the dominant values would be Western values. In this pro-Western view, two views emerged. At first sight, under the new system, the United States would emerge as the only dominant power in the world. Cooperation and solidarity also would take place through US strategy. The other view is that economically strong countries such as Japan and Germany are now world powers, are new world powers in the new balance of powers. In addition to these views, a third group emphasizes that the new era will be the same of low levels of conflict caused by ethnic, religious, and nationalist movements, and that conflict rather than peace will prevail. In the new era, these currents will threaten both world security and also Western values. Perhaps in the more than 30 years since the Cold War, a system has emerged that contains all these views. In other words, the most prominent feature of the new era was democracy, market economy, peace, and cooperation, but wild new conflicts and new instability came with it. Another source of conflict of the new era will be the struggle between the developed countries and developing countries. With the abolition of the Cold War, the possibility of a war between East and West seems to have almost disappeared. However, this development has not brought any solution to the North-South problem. On the contrary, the South or the developing world today faces more external threats than in the past and has become more dependent on the developed world. With these evolutions, the chances in the international system after the Cold War have parallel technological development. Technological development has led to the limitless of communication and create the phenomenon of globalization. The impact of globalization has made itself felt, especially in the economic sphere. Economic developments have also led to change in the power understanding of countries. These changes put economic power ahead of political and military power. In addition, the cost of the use of military force and the reaction of the international community have led global powers to use soft power. Because of that, economic factors have also come to the forefront in the use of soft power. Different centers have been added to the multi-center structure of the post-Cold War, consisting of US, Europe, and Japan economically. Most of these centers are in Asia. In parallel with this idea, it is really necessary to accept Henry Kissinger's claim that the China, Japan, Russia, India, together with the United States and European Union, will be major players in the new system. When nominal values are taken into account on the basis of GDP in 2019, approximately 67% of the world's GDP is produced by the top 10 countries in the world in terms of economic size. Approximately 38% of this production is produced by Asian countries. According to the 230 forecast, 74% of the world's GDP is produced by the top 10 countries, while Asia's share increases to 51%. In the light of this assessment, I can tell you that the sun is rising from the east, but now I think it is also going to set from the east. Therefore, it is very appreciated that the first session of the forum was on Asia. Three distinguished lecturers, Mr. Shanghai Panda, Ambassador of India, Mr. Masud Manan, Ambassador of Bangladesh, and Mr. Lalu Muhammad Iqbal, Ambassador of Indonesia to Turkey. These three countries are in the top 50 countries in economic size in the world. Now, I slowly open the floor to our panelists. Moderating such distinguished lectures really can't be easy. But firstly, I mentioned that we will group the panel based on questions. We have 5 questions, and we will give the speakers maximum 5 minutes for each question. After the questions are completed, we will directly ask the questions from the participants to their respondents. The first question is, how do you see the post-COVID-19 world on behalf of your country? Yeah, the epidemic has had a big impact in India. Because of that, I want to begin with Mr. Ambassador Shanghai Panda. The floor is yours, Professor. Yes.
Thank you, Professor. And it was wonderful to hear you summarize how the things look now globally. And I entirely agree with you that the 21st century is indeed the Asian century. I mean, that's how we all envisaged it before COVID hit us and hit us hard. But the fact remains that the COVID-19 pandemic has certainly changed the world in many ways. In addition to this huge downturn to economies at the level of individuals and societies, it has also proved a major problem in terms of health, lost employment, social interactions, and surging health costs. And, there have been also mental health issues. So it's an unprecedented universal economic slowdown that has impacted all. And you mentioned about how the power dynamics and power equation globally has changed. As a student of political science and international relations, I've been closely following it. And I feel that this pandemic has exposed the vulnerability of developed countries, including major economic powerhouses. So this has been a great leveler. I mean, if you ask me, it has really exposed that irrespective of your development metrics, you have had to suffer. In fact, the speed of resumption of economic activity is critical at this point in preventing what is already a recession from getting into or falling into a depression. So, but I'm an optimist, and I feel that history stands testimony that all these kinds of crises are succeeded by periods of growth. For example, as we all know, the Great Depression, the Second World War were followed by a period of sustained economic expansion. So economic rebounds were observed in all, we have had how many? We have had 4 major recessions in the post-Second World War period. And the economy has always rebounded. So I feel transformation and economic resurgence will undoubtedly happen following the pandemic. But there are other problems also. The economic thinking is likely to shift trajectories. There is a debate which is going on now, whether it is globalization or we should opt for localization. But I feel it is important to opt for the middle path or a possible compromise, which is localization. What is the objective? The objective is to reconfigure the international supply chains. But something which has come up also in the post-pandemic world, we can envisage on our experience now that this 4th industrial revolution is unlikely to be halted. That is we have seen the viability of e-commerce and how the IT and IT-enabled services have shaped up and expanded during this period. So I feel the digital economy and digital infrastructure will grow. The pandemic has actually made us to recognize the real potential of the digital in governance, business, education, health, or what have you. But the other thing, shifting onto the political side, I mean, virus has also shown us that it respects no borders. The global nature of crisis also calls for strengthening international cooperation. We do not know how a post-pandemic world will look like, but what we do know that substantive international cooperation and collaboration is fundamental for dealing with this existing and emerging global challenges. You know, this, as I mentioned, the lines dividing countries on the basis of their development metrics are getting progressively blurred. So I think it's very important to build this future cooperation paradigm. I'll give you some examples. For example, India had initiated something along with France called the International Solar Alliance. Now 90 members, there are 90 members. And this was done on the sidelines of COP'21 in Paris. And again, in 2019, we came up with a coalition of disaster resilient infrastructure, or what we call CDRI, which was launched by our Prime Minister during the United Nations Climate Action Summit in New York in September. So I feel that these kind of cooperation, international cooperation, would be critical. And another more recent example is the vaccine development, for example, the triple helix method, where that's the model, triple helix model, which combines pharma companies, academic research institutions, and contracted manufacturers. For example, this British-Swedish firm AstraZeneca joining hands with Oxford University and the Serum Institute of India. So, that means we thrive on cooperation, and that's all the more important now, and matches with this Indian ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means world is one family. So basically, to sum it up, I feel that today we are mainly facing there are 3 prospects of a post-COVID world that we are looking at. Basically on the post-COVID-19 international cooperation landscape. First, I feel that with the crisis acquiring global dimensions, COVID-19 is a game changer in international relations, including the development partnership aspect. And secondly, in a globalized world, everything is interlinked and interdependent. While there has been a lot of criticism of the multilateral institutions, let's face it, it's here to stay. So strengthening multilateralism, bypassing ideological differences, or for that matter, narrow nationalistic positions will really help bridge the gaps in international cooperation. And most importantly, and finally, in the face of serious global economic downturn, we are caught now in a sort of catch-22 situation, whether to look for a quick fix or somewhat protracted smart recovery that is sustainable and addresses our SDG commitments, including climate change concerns. So I would opt for the second, that envisages international collaboration to build back better, the BBB as it's called, suggesting a cleaner, technology-driven green recovery. That is what we should look at when we are getting out of the COVID situation. Just before this, as we were speaking, as any developing country, India is facing a major challenge now. We are, in fact, facing the worst phase of the pandemic at this point in time. And we, in spite of our best efforts, we realize that now we are really falling short and the pandemic is overtaking us. So that is why a country which makes 60% of the vaccines, global vaccines, is facing this situation, which is really a matter of concern. We are looking at international assistance and help we thought we probably won't need, but we do need it. So let's face it. But anyway, I am confident India, like the rest of the world, will bounce back. So I look at the pandemic, or India looks at the pandemic, both as disruptive, at the same time transformational in shaping the post-COVID world.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. Really so clear. Yeah, I'm really agree with you. International cooperation will be the most important drug against this pandemic. Yes, really. And also multilateralism, it is very important. International assistance is very important. So if we win against this pandemic, we need together. It is really true. Now, I give the floor to Mr. Masood Manan from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a very important one of the developing countries. What can you say, Mr. Ambassador, at the same question? That I really again to ask you about the first question. How do you see the post-COVID-19 world on behalf of your country? Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Respected Dr. Kutai Karaja, thank you very much for asking this, very pertinent question. I agree on many points with the respected Ambassador of India, and I wish them all the best with his positive hope for the future. Bangladesh has been doing pretty well in dealing with the COVID-19 situation. Our death rate, as you know, is not high, thanks to the Creator. And at the same time, infection, though it is sometimes going up, but it is also under control from the very good leadership of the present government of Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Honorable Prime Minister. And as you are aware, our country made rapid development progress over the past 2 decades under her leadership, reaching middle-income country status in 2015 and becoming a developing country on 26 February this year, despite pandemic. And you know that now we have the highest per capita income in South Asia. Our rapid GDP growth was supported by a demographic dividend, sound macroeconomic policies, and acceleration in ready-made garment exports. Meanwhile, job creation and growing remittance inflows contributed to a sharp decline in poverty. The COVID-19 pandemic impacted the economy profoundly. A national shutdown from March to May 2020 resulted in severe supply-side disruptions in all sectors of the economy. But despite that, the government's COVID-19 stimulus program provided firms with access to working capital and a low-cost loans to sustain operations and maintain employee wages in financial year 20 and financial year 21, the current one. From June 2020 onward, movement restrictions have been progressively lifted and transit and workplace movement patterns returned to pre-pandemic levels by October last year. Early signs of recovery emerged in the first of the current fiscal year, the financial year, July to December 2020 included. Exports rebounded in the first half of financial year 21 as ready-made garment export orders were reinstated. On the demand side, growth was primarily supported by private consumption, underpinned by a recovery in labor income and remittance inflows. The current account moved into surplus in the first half of this year as the trade deficit declined due to lower imports and surging official remittance inflows. Over the medium term, growth is projected to stabilize within 5 to 7% range as exports and consumption continue to recover and investment rises, led by externally financed public infrastructure investments under the recently adopted 8th five-year plan. So from all these things, which you told me to say on behalf of our government, I am also seeing that there is a very positive sign in the near future, especially if the whole world combinedly can deal, as we say, and our Indian friend told, that if we can work together to face the pandemic seriously and successfully, inshallah, we will be seeing good days coming in the near future. And I also believe that for that collaboration together, working together to overcome the challenges of pandemic will be needed in the new normal situation through multilateralism practiced very well, making our international bodies more prepared for future challenges, not to face like this time we did without any preparation. I will not name countries or organizations, you and I know, who could have been more prepared with all their research facilities and all their responsibilities, but we didn't see anything to happen like that. Still today, we are trying to develop not only better vaccines, but medicines for the people who are already infected. We don't even have medicines till today to deal with this situation. Many people died in this world, which is very unfortunate. And at the same time, in distant corners of the least developed countries and underdeveloped countries in 3 big continents are still to be reached by the community at large of the whole world, as we call it. So these things are not very rosy picture. We have to overcome and have better preparation for our future. We have to also think about the impact this current situation is undergoing for education of the younger generation, starting from primary education up to tertiary education, which has been severely hampered. And still many schools, colleges, and universities are not in, practice working. Some classes are going on, online, but not many. Many are just having, sine die, closed sine die. And then we, the tourism industry, the, airlines, most of them are not working as they used to work up to 2019. And there are other big industries which are also hampered because these industries are hampered. Logistics are, impacted. I'm talking about the freight forwarding industry. And connected with that, there are many other industries which are also impacted very heavily. So just by thinking, academically, maybe we will overcome, but we will not jump back to pre-COVID situation, which was quite well, so easily. For that also, we will have to have individual country-wise as well as globally plan and program how to overcome all these challenges. Because to go back, maybe we'll not go back in full momentum, then maybe we will have big problem.
Last questions, please.
Yes, but we have to...
Last sentences, pardon.
Yes, so we have to think that how to overcome these things without having any friction, but with having maximum understanding between countries believing in maybe different ideology, but on this big question of facing the new normal situation, how we can work better than even 2019, we have to find a solution of that. So this is in short the position of Bangladesh, and I thank you for making us a part of today's panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Maybe I really agree with you, the responsibility of the international organizations, but probably we need more responsible United Nations against the pandemic, I think. For the developing countries, for the poor countries, for the poor continents, That's really, I agree with you. Also, maximum understanding is a mutual interest for all countries. I agree with you. Thank you very much. Mr. Ambassador Iqbal, the same question, please. You have 5 minutes.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting us. Now, I would like to try to answer the question that you have posed. Of course, this is not 100% representing the view of Indonesia on how the world will look like after COVID. But at least this is my view as an Indonesian to see the world after the COVID. First, I would echo what my best friend Ambassador Sanjay has said, that Asia, the first feature is Asia will remain before and after COVID. Asia is clearly in its way of becoming the new powerhouse and the new economic house. So that's something clear. This is something that we are aware of in Indonesia, that we will be one of this powerhouse. Out of 5 biggest economy in the world after 2025, would be 3 of them would be from Asia, and 4 out of 10 would be also in Asia. So this is something very clear, that this is what we are anticipating. That's why we are welcoming the new initiative taken by Minister Mevlut to put this initiative, Asia, a new initiative within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Turkey. This is really representing the future paradigm. So that's something we welcome. The second thing is digital economy. Digital economy will clearly becoming the new type of economy. If we are looking into the era of pre-COVID era, then digital economy is taking benefit from the conventional economy. But after COVID, it is clear that digital economy will create a spillover to the conventional economy. So instead of conventional economy generating digital economy, the situation will be different after COVID. Digital economy will be the prime mover. Digital economy will create spillover, and digital economy will generate the conventional economy. This is something we have to anticipate. And the third, since you touch upon the issue of New World Order, of course we agree with the New World Order. But I think we know that since I was a student of university, we are always discussing about New World Order and how this New World Order will look like. For me, every crisis is a way for the world to renew itself. So what we are facing now is just a way of the world renewing itself into something new. So what I understand is, let's say 60 years ago, there was New Order as well, but that New Order create democracy, but the democracy within the domestic level. So every country almost moving into a more democratic country, starting from 60 years ago until 20 years ago. But in the global level, the face of the world in the global level is full of anarchy. So there is no democracy in the global level. What this pandemic is creating is, it gives us a sense of we are living on the same boat. That's the positive thing of this pandemic. It gives us that sense of being on the same boat. So it means that it opened a more chance for us to have a democracy within the international level, within the global level. That's what we hope. And as Ambassador Sanjay has said, that multilateralism is the true representation of democracy in the global level. When I'm talking about multilateralism, I'm talking about GA, about General Assembly, which is one country, one vote. I'm not talking about Security Council. So at least this feeling of being on the same boat will generate our global life into a more democratic life. And the last one, what this pandemic has created is that it gives more awareness to the people-oriented policy, because then we are now aware that the real threat the real common threat, the real global common threat is not coming from the military side, but it comes from the welfare of our people. So now that we are aware that the real threat is public safety, the real threat is public health, the real threat is food security, everything that comes with people-oriented situation. I think that's 4 points that I want to raise, since everything has been raised by the previous speaker, Ambassador Sanjay and Ambassador Masud. So I think the 4 points will give some added value to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. You really mentioned very important points, but one of them is digital economy. Yeah, it's very important. But we need more clear transportation sector. Then we need more clear transport. And there is no same democracy in global level. It is very correct point. And also we are in the same boat because of the multi-terrorism is more important nowadays. And it is very important, people-oriented policies. It is very important. And global threat is not coming from the militaries. It is really true after this pandemic. And maybe for us in the future, for our children and the others in the future, food security, climate change, it is very important points that maybe the threats not coming from the militaries in the future, but coming from the foods, coming from the climate. So it is very important. Thank you very much. And let's ask the other question. Is very important. Why? Because I really have searched on China since 1996, and at that period, since that period, I always stress the U.S.-China competition and if it affects Asia. So for your country, what impact can it have on the region and your country for the future in the U.S.-China competition? Because China is important for the Asian countries, but also some rivals with really, for example, India. What are your thoughts on, or what is your approach also to Belt and Road Initiative? It is very important for my researchers also what you say. Now the second tour, I want to begin with Mr. Masood from Bangladesh. Yes.
This is also a very tricky question.
I know that it is not an easy question, Mr.
Not
Ambassador.
easy, very tricky question. You know that I have served in China for 3 years. And we have very good, we had as DCM, of course, and had very good, Bangladesh has very good relation like we have with India, with China as well. So you are correct.
If I am not to repeat this, correct me. You have some problems with Chinese funds because of the Belt and Road Initiative, the Bangladesh, you know. 2 years ago, the new government mentioned something on this problem.
I will not call it a problem. When you want to join a, team or a group, you have to fulfill some requirements, and your development and other things have to be commensurate in that way, according to the thought process of the government in power. So those are the things, but I will not say that is a big challenge or something. It can be overcome. But as you already know, then in our main business that we are doing with the world now, which is ready-made garment industry, we are already second in the world after China, out of all the countries in the world, ready-made garments, textile industry. We produce, after China, the most and the best quality as well. So Bangladesh is not having a big, your problem in that sector. We're already doing very well. So I will not say that we'll be very much hampered. Even with today's China's big business in that sector, we are doing pretty well with some other countries. So you know that. I only think that we are talking about the competition between US and China. And this, if we only think about business competition, is different. But if we take it in a holistic way, business, politics, culture, world leadership, space, China has already sent its, rocket to many places, very recent development. China has sent it to Mars even. So all these things, if you take into consideration, and if you think about that kind of competition, how much it will, influence the region and my country, of course, we are a developing country and China is already, though we, can have difference of opinion, but it is, some people see economically has already replaced as the second economy after USA. So before even Japan now. So we have to take into consideration these things. Of course, it has an impact. Of course, individual countries have individual relationship with China also, not through only United Nations or WTO, World Trade Organization. So we have to think in that aspect. So there are regional influence, politically, business-wise, culturally. But as I told at the beginning, like we have very good understanding with India, Bangladesh has also very good understanding and cooperation with China. And we have big, projects in Bangladesh which are being constructed or being supported by China. So for Bangladesh as an individual country, I think even China's rise, competition with the US can have some impact, but China's rise, I think, will not have big negative impact on my country. We will get from that understanding good, impact for our good relationship with China. And for the impact of US-China conflict or competition, sometimes the world politics will have some impact, but I think it will be more on the big, collaborations or big allies. They have their own group of countries. They will have more impact than individual smaller countries or individual developing countries, whether it comes from US or China individually or as a result of this competition. I don't think we'll have a very big problem from this. But finally, I want to say China and United States have been stable trade partners to Bangladesh for decades. The volume and value of trade Bangladesh has with both countries are significant. However, the nature of trade with both countries are different. Bangladesh's top import partner is China. Meanwhile, Germany is the largest and the United States is the second largest destination of Bangladesh's exports. So from this, you can easily understand the changes in the geopolitical relationship between the two countries you mentioned, US and China, through this trade war. If you only consider it as trade war or competition, have alarmed many countries that have trade stakes with these two countries, though this raises, as you can easily understand, because since we have understanding with both of them, more hope for us. Because sometimes when you have competition in other places, you can have, for good friendly countries, hope. As the Asia Development Bank's chief economist, Yasuuki Soada argues, trade war to general additional US dollar 400 million will result in exports for Bangladesh. Thank you.
I know it is not an easy question. I know for the Asian countries.
You can easily understand.
Compared
but
with
till now, it is very hopeful for my country.
Yes, yeah, I know. But I really, when I prepared the questions, I really know this is a very hard question. Yeah, difficult question. Mr. Iqbal, yeah. Sometimes in Turkey, we discuss the Indonesian model, the economic model, and you are really very well developed country. But how can you affect the US-China competition and also Belt and Road Initiative? It is very important. It's my era. Why? Because you know that the Belt and road initiative, China applied deep diplomacy also. So it is very important. For example, when we asked them, they expressed this situation as a win-win principle, and the principle is only adopted between China and that country's elite. So it is very important. Because of that, I add the Belt and Road Initiative to the question that want to answer of U.S.-China competition. Pilos, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So competition is actually, competition will always take place everywhere in the world, because that's the nature of international politics. The sources are limited, but the demand are not limited. Within that situation, how can you prevent yourself from competition? Competition will always be there. But the key issue is we don't want to see any competition to be transformed into a military conflict. That's the only issue. So as long as they are competing healthily without any military conflict, so that it's not really a problem. Let me put this way. As you said, that there are some similarities between Indonesia and Turkey. And you know, Indonesia is located between two continents, between two oceans. So we are, throughout our history, we are always sandwiched between two big powers. On other side, we have India, we have China. On the other side, we have United States, we have Russia, and so on. So we are becoming a melting pot of the struggle of power between different powers. That's true. We feel it throughout our history. That's why our founding father has decided that the key principle in our foreign policy is free and active. So it doesn't mean neutral, but it's free and active. So yeah, we will define what we are going in the global level by our own interests. And our interest is clear. One is defending our sovereignty. Second is maintaining territorial integrity. Third, people welfare. And the fourth is maintaining regional and global.
But Ambassador, it is easy to conduct your demands at this situation then?
No, I mean, now let me touch upon the issue of ASEAN factor. Maybe ASEAN thing is not so familiar in Turkey. So let me touch upon that issue. There are some important forums in this region. I mean, in Asia region. One is ASEAN. The second is ASEAN Plus, where India is also a member of ASEAN Plus, and also Turkey is now becoming a sectoral dialogue partner of ASEAN as well. So this is an ASEAN-driven process. We have also other forum, ASEM, Asia-Europe meeting, which from the very beginning has been agreed by all parties. It's going to be an ASEAN-driven process. So we have East Asian Summit. From the beginning, we also agreed that it's going to be an ASEAN-driven process. So ASEAN is really a factor in the competition between United States and China in that region. And ASEAN has no interest whatsoever to see the transformation of the current competition into a military competition. So ASEAN will always taking a balancing approach. ASEAN will always take a balancing role in the competition. So I don't think that we should worry about competition. We are just now moving from competition from the West Bloc with the Eastern Bloc in the past, and now we are moving from another competition from China with the United States. So we are. It's a common feature of our international politics, I think.
Very well said. No, you have to unmute yourself, Professor.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I really got a very balanced answers from two ambassadors, but I hope, because it is my research area, the India-China relations. So yeah, this is what the answer is, you see, the ambassador father. So, yeah, this is the ambassadors. Yeah, really, it's very, very balanced answers. But what is your opinion, Mr. Pada? What about the situation, especially India is not in the Belt and Road Initiative, but I wrote many articles from the Indian academics. They wrote many true things on that initiative, but please conduct it with this initiative with the US-China competition in Asia.
You know, Professor Karacha, this is a very difficult question. And I was very interested and very happy that you left me for the last word. And my ambassador colleagues had to say what they had to. You know, the master diplomat Ambassador Masood is.
I am really good moderator, you see.
I know. Ambassador Masood is, you know, he's a master diplomat. And the way he skillfully went about it, I was very curious to hear what he's saying, but he beautifully balanced it. And Ambassador Iqbal, I can tell you, he beautifully hedged it. You know, that's the ASEAN strategy. He beautifully hedged it. Well, you know, I wish I had the academic license. I wish I had the scholastic license as the think tankers and the academics in India have. Maybe when I retire one day and talk about it, I'll talk more freely. But it's a fact that the world is watching, and the world is watching very carefully. And I am looking at this US-China confrontation from the point of view of how it has been aggravated by the pandemic. You know, the fact is that the pandemic has clearly left its mark on both China and the United States. It began in one and it killed the maximum in the other. They are already embroiled in a trade war now. And COVID has also aggravated the strategic confrontation between the two giants. Does it affect the region? The answer is clear. You know, we are living today in an interdependent world. The stone that you throw onto the water, you can see the ripples spread far and wide. I mean, I'm reminded of Mevlana Rumi saying this, so don't. But a considered policy of strategic autonomy in decision-making and measured engagement will help manage these ripples. Now, if you're saying if there's going to have a fallout, yes, it's going to have a fallout, but it's manageable. You know, for India, China is an important neighbor. I mean, historically, there have been border-related issues, and more recently, some skirmishes resulted in loss of lives of armed forces personnel on both sides. On the other hand, both India and China are major economies and are also among the largest trade partners of each other. So I feel that we cannot possibly ignore it. And so far as India-US relations have developed over the years, it has evolved actually during the last decade. And we have now a global strategic partnership based on shared democratic values, belief in rule of law, and you know, increasing convergence of interest in bilateral, regional, and global issues. And we all know about how Indo-Pacific has come about, and how you know, there's reference to, although we do say that it's not directed against any third country, but you know, there are some commentators who choose to write differently on the Quad. And I remember in Dhaka, the Chinese ambassador created many ripples by commenting on the Quad recently. Well, so far as the US is concerned, no, I'm a diplomat. I'll refrain from commenting any further. So I'm learning from Ambassador Masood. No, so far as US is concerned, I mean, okay, we have strategic convergence. Number one. Secondly, there is a huge diaspora in India, more than 4 million, and which has a big say in the political process, and which has helped also in India-US coming together and thinking alike. But everything after having said that, I'd like to say that in India, we do have a principled position. Irrespective of the party in power, change in government, things don't change. Our foreign policy priorities remain the same. And our principled position is that any bilateral relations should stand on its own merit and not influenced by any extraneous consideration or ties with a third country. Now, if I have my relations with the US, that's not at the cost of China. If I have my relations with China, not at the cost of my relations with the US. They are bilateral. It has to be dealt bilaterally. That's what I would like to say. And this also has a little impact of our relations with Turkey as well.
Yeah, this is a high mark answer, Professor. From
to a very difficult question, Professor.
I have one more difficult question for you also. One more, it's coming now. The third question for me, what are your thoughts on the possibility of transformation of Asia's regional problems into conflicts? It is, the South China Sea, East China Sea, Indian China border, and also Kashmir, blah, 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 blah. What are you thinking now? This time we are beginning with the ambassador. What is he? Is a problem with the ambassador Iqbal.
The video, what happened to his video?
Yeah, maybe some connection problem, I don't know. Maybe he's communicated. Okay, Ambassador Masood, then begin with you again. What are you thinking about this position, the conflict?
Which conflict? Will you kindly repeat?
I repeat the question then. What are your thoughts on the possibility of the transformation of Asian regional problems into conflicts? Now, some frozen conflicts, in Asia, it affects all countries if they transform again, okay? Like South China Sea, East China Sea, Taiwan issue, Kashmir issue, Indo-China, border problems, blah, 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 the others also.
Thank you. This is also a difficult question.
I know
but
that.
If we take into consideration last 100 years since the First World War, actually in that side, whatever big wars took place, they didn't repeat in the last 50 years. Am I clear that you spoke about South China, East Asia, then Taiwan? They didn't repeat, even in the Indo-China. Sometimes people thought it might go into full-fledged war. There were big articles on the newspaper. Even when I was in China, I saw those things in the South China Morning Post and other things that not about war, that, they didn't like this, they like this. But ultimately, if we have followed these things seriously, these were mainly, statements. People become, rubbed on the wrong shoulder, and people in power, they made their comments, but it never went into full-fledged conflict in last 50 years in that particular side of the world. You didn't see any war in that scale. If you start considering from the 70 plus till now, I'm talking last 50 years, you didn't see full-fledged big war in East Asia or South China or Taiwan. But if you take into consideration the whole of Asia, then it is difficult, because when we just had to have international pressure on two countries in the Middle East only 2 weeks ago to come to a ceasefire agreement. We just had. It is also in Asia. So if you come to this part of the world, just to opposite side of Asia, I am not sure whether there will not be, I'm not calling full-fledged war, but this kind of, killings and destruction and conflict that might happen because they are going for, some sort of other kinds of politics backed by groups of countries in both sides. So, and you have seen political mind changes have taken place in that part of the world in different country leadership. So there might be. But if you're talking about China and China's neighbors plus the Western world, I don't think so. Because China has become seriously, in that last 50 years, economically number 2, militarily it is also going up. I don't think USA will actually go for, or Western world, or anyone will really go for full-fledged war, and then destroy their economy, especially in post-pandemic situation when already the world has suffered a lot and it will be suffering a lot. We're not thinking in next 3 months, pandemic will just disappear and go to another planet. I'm talking about COVID-19, that they will have a migration. So that's my answer. I don't think there will be a full-fledged war or war situation, whatever they tell in the media or make statements in that part of Asia. In this part, only 2 weeks ago, there was not war, but there were exchange of law, and a lot of people lost their lives. Exchange of, missiles and bullets and ammunition, killing of people among two, groups of people. One is a recognized country, and another is going to get recognition as a country. And on this situation, it happened. So you have to consider. I will not put Asia altogether out of this possibility, but not in that part.
Okay. Ambassador Iqbal, you are welcome again. There's a big connection problem, I think. I repeat my question. The first floor is yours, but you are disconnected. What are your thoughts on the possibility of transformation of Asia's regional problems into conflict? It is possible or not?
It's good that I have touched upon that issue in my previous answer. That's, before 1967, there were some military conflict taking place in Southeast Asia region. And then in 1976, ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, was established in 1976. And since then, there was no open military conflict in the region until now. That's why it is considered as one of the most stable regional organization, ASEAN.
That's what I hinted.
Yeah, that's what. It's the most stable international regional organization, and it is why that now almost all of ASEAN countries are considered as among the new tigers, new rising stars, new emerging economic powerhouse, starting from Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia. Why? Because our regional is quite stable, and it's stable is built upon consensus among those countries. It's a democratic regional organization where every country has its own vote, one country, one vote. So all decisions are not made through voting, but all decisions are made through consensus among those countries. So I'm sure that in 1967, when it was established, the bipolarity was there. The competition between the West and East was there as well. But we managed to do that because we define our position based on our regional interests. The same thing will take place also in the coming years. So what I'm saying is that as long as ASEAN can make itself stable, can get consensus on some different issues, then I'm sure that ASEAN will have no interest whatsoever to see any competition being transformed into a military conflict in the region. So that's what I can say. And as I couldn't hear your voice.
Yeah. I forgot to open the voice. Yeah. Ambassador Panda, what are you thinking about this conflict?
Okay, that's again, we are back to, it's connected with the previous question, but of course, any unaddressed continuing problem, I mean, theoretically, it has the potential to transform into conflicts. And that's not only in Asia, but anywhere in the world. So first of all, we have to accept something that, I mean, looking at your question, it's not Asia specific. And secondly, who defines what is a problem area? I mean, you're talking about a problem area turning into a conflict. Now, who defines what's a problem area? You know, there are certain problem areas which have no basis or minimal basis, but are projected as problem areas or projected as such by certain vested interests to divert attention from other issues that directly affect their interest. You know, I'm also learned now to hedge certain questions and give answers like this. But anyway, on another note, in international relations, if there were no issues, I mean, our breed of diplomats would get unemployed. I mean, my colleague ambassadors here would agree with me that managing such problems, real or perceived, is part of our assignment. I mean, we have to do it. But, you know, realistically speaking, I do not envisage it boiling down to major catastrophe or major conflict situations, whatever these problems are. These are the days of, you know, shoot and scoot. So very pointed conflicts, which will be, you know, confined to certain specific areas, and then quickly finish with, you know, some international intervention. I mean, if there's unlikely that we would come to a situation of a third world war as the things stand. I mean, God forbid that it happens, but I personally feel that, you know, these problems are, many problems are actually artificially, you know, devised. So they are turning into conflict situations. Well, I take that with a pinch of salt. People can talk about, you know, two nuclear powers getting into a conflict situation. What will happen? Okay, I would refrain from commenting on that. I leave it to the academics and think tanks to write books on it, and I don't make such doomsday prediction. Thank you.
Ambassadors, you know that it is not easy to discuss the conflicts with the ambassadors. It is not easy. You get always a balanced answers. Yeah, it is true. You are ambassadors. It's true.
But Professor, if I may add something, Professor. You know, since the beginning we have talked about Asia will be the new powerhouse in the future. So
yeah,
logically speaking, Asia has the strongest interest not to see any military conflict to take place in our region. Because any conflict then will create a suspension, will hamper our growth, economic growth. So we have the strongest interest not to see that military conflict. Actually, that's something you can assure of.
maybe we ask Ambassador Masood, because he's in Kayseri. The Kayseri people really thinks like you. Trade is very important for them. Trade is the top topic, yeah, you know, for Kayseri people. It is very important. Yeah, you know that. We have approximately 20 minutes. I want to ask the relations between your countries with Turkey. What are the prominent issues in your country's relationship with Turkey? Where do you see this relationship in the future? And now I want to begin with Mr. Iqbal. Mr. Iqbal, what are you thinking about the relations? Because the Indonesia and Turkey relations, especially last 20 years, it's growing and growing. What are you thinking about that?
Well, the relation between our two nations, I'm not saying state, but nation, between our nation, can be traced back to 465 years ago. So the first time, I mean, the first contact between the two nations was started in almost 500 years ago, and it is written in the letter between the two sides. But now, as it is now, you see that at least in the last 3 years, we are developing so many new areas of cooperation, starting from research, development, technology, and everything. And inshallah, by the end of this year, the President of Turkish President Erdogan, will be visiting Indonesia to sign a high-level council meeting between agreement between two countries, and it will create new impetus for the two countries. But there are so many areas have been developed. But what I'm going to say is, whatever has been achieved so far, it doesn't represent the real potentials between two countries. That's the real issue. As far as economy is concerned, the trade volume between Indonesia and Turkey is now just 1.6 billion US dollar. If you combine the number of population between Indonesia and Turkey combined, totally it amount to almost 350, Indonesia and Turkey. So the current volume of trade does not represent the real potential between two countries. And the real problem is we don't know each other. We know, I made some random check to publics in Turkey. What do you know about Indonesia? I give them 10 different options, and most of them will choose that they know about Indonesia about tsunami. Second is Bali, and the third is Muslim country. Of course, we are happy to be seen as brother Muslim country, but we are more happy to be seen as our own the real potentials. Also, when you come to Turkey, to Indonesia, if you ask, what do you know about Turkey? Yes, Turkey is a big country. Second, Turkey is in the Middle East, so they are wearing like the Middle East, like this Saudi Arabian. So they speak Arab as well. That's what they know. They know that Turkey is equal to President Erdogan, and they know that Turkey has released El-Turu as well. So what our people knows each other is far below the potential that we have. In fact, we are both Indonesia and Turkey. We are both industrialized Muslim country. So we have started our industrialization since, like, say, back to 30 years ago. So we are both industrialized Muslim country. We are both have influence in our regions. Those things are not known by the public. So of course, there are some social strata who knows the real potential between the two countries. That's why we are welcoming enthusiastically the initiative of Asia Anew launched by the government, and we are willing to be part of any initiative to raise awareness among the Turkish public about the real potentials in Asia. If not in Indonesia, let's start from Asia. If you understand the real potential of Asia, so at least you have moved a step forward to understand about Indonesia. So that's the situation, and we are hoping that we will be moving forward in our cooperation. Just for your information, yesterday I met with some people from the aircraft industries, and those professors, I think half of them, they don't know that they were not aware that in end of 1980s, that's, I mean, like 30 years ago, Turkey has started to bought 50 aircraft from Indonesia, military aircraft from Indonesia. So in that 30 years ago, we have started to develop our aircraft industry, and we supply to Turkey as well, that 30 years ago back. And now we are also having some cooperation in defense industry. So the relation between the two countries is really take and give situation. It's really an apple to apple cooperation between the countries. So with that, there are more opportunities to be tapped between the two countries.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, I asked the same question to Mr. Panda. Ms. Panda, India's relations with Turkey have increased in recent years, but are you agree with me? So for you, where do you see this relationship in the future?
You see, if we see in a purely bilateral context, there are no major issues in our ties with Turkey. I mean, I can see that there would be a sense of surprise if I say that. But listen to mark my words very carefully. If we see in a purely bilateral context, there are no major issues in our ties with Turkey. There are, of course, some irritants, I mean, which crop up from time to time and which have absolutely no bilateral basis. I feel India-Turkey relationship should stand on its own merit, as I said earlier in answer to another question on China-US. Similarly, I feel that India-Turkey relationship should stand on its own merit, and we should not look at each other through the prism of a third country. We should not allow this extraneous considerations to take center stage, and we lose sight of the big picture in our bilateral deals. Sorry, I'm in my hotel room. There is some announcement. Let me. I don't. This is a test announcement. It's a test announcement. I'm sorry. See, that is a third party. There is a third party involvement. When I'm making an important statement, I mean, it says there's a test announcement. So now it's a dikkat in Turkish. So it's a test announcement. Sorry. You will hear an alarm bell following this message. There will be an alarm bell. There will be an alarm bell now. So this is, now the alarm bell will come. Okay. So as I was saying,
blocks against the Turkish-Indian relations. Yeah.
I that, but anyway. So as I was mentioning, sorry if the alarm interrupts, so we'll live with it. So I feel that it should stand on its own merit, and we should not look at each other through the prism of any third country.
Ambassador, don't worry about that.
Okay, I think, can you hear me correctly
yes,
with
yes,
this?
Yes. It is not important.
So I'm saying that we should not allow any extraneous considerations to really, influence us and take precedence, so that we lose sight of the larger picture in our bilateral ties. In fact, sensitivity on issues of core concern to either side is of paramount importance. And I wanted to mention that our two countries have this is really very, very disturbing.
Okay.
I think it's over now. So let me continue. So what I'm saying that our two countries have a deep historical, cultural, and civilizational connect. Our peoples have known each other and interacted over the millennia, both intellectually and materially. We have lived through a transforming world. We have overcome difficult and unfortunate times in recent centuries. And both India and Turkey are relatively young nations with fast emerging, dynamic, young, aspirational, dynamic, strong economies with a very vibrant, young, aspirational youth. It's youthful societies. So we face common challenges in today's interconnected world also, such as climate change, sustainable development, terrorism, and now pandemic. So we have to join hands and demonstrate our solidarity and resilience while taking on these challenges. It's high time we put aside these unrelated external issues that distract us from our larger goals. It is only then that India and Turkey can realize their full potential as natural partners in the 21st century. So when you say if you have issues, bilaterally nil, but fallout of other relations, yes, there are strains. But as an eternal optimist, I already notice positive developments that augur well for our future. We are, deeply touched by the friendship and solidarity recently demonstrated by Turkey in extending a helping hand to India during these challenging times. The assistance that arrived in India 3 days ago came with a beautiful message. The beautiful message from Mevlana Rumi. The message says, there is hope after despair. There are many suns after darkness. If you ask me, this aptly sums up the state of play in our bilateral ties and what the future holds. So, when we are talking about, other issues like economy, 8 billion trade, how this doesn't reflect the size of our economy, these are all correct. But then we have to first resolve what the irritants are, which do not have a bilateral basis. Then we can really move ahead. So we have made a beginning, and I feel that there is light at the end of the tunnel, which we see, but it is up to us to ensure that the light is not of an advancing train. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. It's so easy question, but some announcers affects everything you see. So I'll give the floor Ambassador Masood from Bangladesh. What to say, Ambassador, about the relationship Bangladesh with Turkey in the future?
Thank you very much. This is a very positive question, actually, because, for over 1,000 years, as the people, we were all part of them, the subcontinent, 1,000 years back, Turkey people, as well as the people of Bangladesh, at that time Bengal, they started having understanding relationship. Maybe some came through the rulers of that part of the subcontinent, because many were of Turkish origin. Some came from this, where I'm sitting today, and some came from Central Asia, because they also have Turkic blood. You know that, you are cousins. So they came, especially the Mughals came from Central Asia. They ruled the subcontinent for 331 years. And even before them, there were people from Turkic origin, from your part, who came and ruled different parts of the subcontinent. So we had, especially being Muslim, we had some relationship, some understanding. We shared the culture and the religion in a big way. So we had some positive things from 1,000 years. I will not say only several hundred years. Secondly, when Kemal Atatürk, the founder of modern Turkey, started his, from Samsun, started his struggle or his movement to keep or make the modern Turkey, he also received from the Bengali Muslims and other Muslims of the subcontinent big help to the Turkish people. I am talking about 100 years back. They got our assistance, and wherever I go, including here, your mayors and governors and people, intellectuals who study history, they always extend their gratitude that even 90 years ago or 100 years ago, people of the subcontinent, especially Muslims, helped their forefathers in their independence movement. So these are very positive things. When we talk about the present day political understanding, our leadership in Bangladesh and Turkey have been putting emphasis on further strengthening this political understanding with more trade and economic relations between our two very friendly and brotherly countries. I believe the cooperation between Turkey and Bangladesh companies in the near future would be further enhanced, if not tripled, by doubling the total volume of trade that currently exists between our two countries. You know that we also have had actually, even last year, despite pandemic, almost $1 billion worth of business, which with all the challenges to transport and logistics and freight forwarding was a big, big achievement. So, inshallah, in the near future, during my presentation of credential, Honorable President Erdogan wanted to double the business soon. So with his visit coming, like my colleague from Indonesia said, at maybe in a few months, even to Bangladesh, because Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has already invited him to visit during our 50-year, our Golden Jubilee of Independence, to visit Bangladesh. There will be a visit, as he promised, and from President Erdogan to Dhaka. And very recently, Honorable Foreign Minister, Mr. Mevlut Cavusoglu, also went to Bangladesh at the end of December 2020. And he also, emphasized in his speech that Bangladesh is the rising star of South Asia with its sustainable development model and one of the most important partners of, that's why I didn't talk about this before, of means Turkey's Asia New initiative. He mentioned it in his speech in Dhaka when he was inaugurating new Chancellery building of the Turkish embassy. In 2019, maybe you already know, the Koç Group, which is the largest family-based group of companies of Turkey, they are one company under them, Arçelik, already acquired the Singer Bangladesh, one of the biggest players in Bangladesh's consumer durable market, and iGas has already established a partnership with United Group of Bangladesh for the sale and distribution of LPG in Bangladesh. Also, Turkey-Bangladesh, inshallah, will have world market, some share in the world market together in doing business between each other and targeting third countries. This is my hope, because in some sectors, we produce same kind of things, which if we collaborate and target some third region or third big countries who don't produce those items, we can easily enter those markets soon. And you understand what I'm hinting at. Bangladesh take this opportunity through your seminar or webinar in inviting Turkey to have a special Turkish economic zone in Bangladesh. We have already negotiating this thing with Turkey, and we have already done it successfully with our neighboring country, India, South Korea, and Japan. And we are already also trying to do with Germany. And we are already offering for this purpose attractive incentives for foreign investors. Finally, I would like to say that the two countries also cooperate in terms of defense and industries, like my colleague from Indonesia mentioned, and have already carried out many training programs and joint collaborations. And very recently our year chief visited Turkey, even during pandemic, and at present our naval chief is visiting Turkey. So you can easily understand that we are having cooperation with Turkey in all sectors, not only political understanding at the highest possible level between the two leaders of the two countries, but in business, defense, cultural exchange. We have almost 1,000 students, 600 plus to be exact, but it is going to be 1,000 soon. And inshallah, as we discussed about Sufism and other things, through mentioning Rumi, when the Honorable Ambassador of India made his last deliberation, we are even planning to invite Yunus Emre Institute to start their institute in Bangladesh to promote Sufism and teach Turkish language for the incoming students and also other interested students or Bangladeshi who want to, learn Turkish. In this way, I think a very bright future with a lot of business, lot of political understanding, both bilaterally and in multilateral sector, like we got from Turkey. I take this opportunity to thank President Erdogan and his cabinet, plus the First Lady, for being so active and vocal and supportive in case of the Rohingya displaced population from Myanmar during the last 4 years. And the people also supported his stand, the Bangladesh stance, along with the media and the NGOs. So I extend my, a heartfelt thanks to everyone in Turkey through your webinar. So thank you very much. It's an excellent relation already, and it will go to a higher level in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I know the high-level relations between Bangladesh and Turkey. I know that. Thank you very much. You mentioned it again. Maybe we obey the time, but Ambassador, don't forget to eat Kayseri's delicious foods. And when you eat, please think about me. It's because I really miss my mother and father because of pandemic. I cannot see them really for 60 or 70 months approximately. So Kayseri has very, very delicious food. Don't forget.
I know. I've already tested from last day. I mean, yesterday.
Yeah. Really. Sorry. Yeah. In the first session of the forum, we focused on Asia. We have heard from 3 esteemed ambassadors to view of their own country. I would like to thank them for their participation. The important thing, I think, for us was to get first-hand information from the era. I hope we have made our participants feel that way. That's why I think the session has achieved its goal. Finally, I would like to thank the Government and Leadership School of Bahçeşehir University and the esteemed President of the school, Burak Kuntay, for providing us with this opportunity. The last sentence for me, pay attention to masks, distance, and hygiene, and stay healthy. Thank you very much, ambassadors. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. It was quite a delight, and I quite enjoyed interacting with my ambassador colleagues from Bangladesh and Indonesia as well. Thank you, Professor.
You're most welcome, Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Iqbal?